クルーガーさんからまず自己紹介をお願いします。
We are a specialist bazaar based in Cape Town, South Africa.
Hello, I'm Simon Alderson, co-founder of the London Design Store 2021. We sell a mixture of international design and craft.
Hello, my name is Thierry. Please call me Thierry. I'm from Paris in France, and we have two businesses. One business is about wholesale. We are distributing several Japanese brands all over Europe. And we have another business which is called Bows and Arrows. And this is the name of our store, which is based in Paris. And we are only selling Japanese products.
一番最初にクルーガーさんに、ジャパンプロダクトの魅力についてどこが強みだと思うかを教えていただいてもよろしいでしょうか。
I think for us, going back to how we started the business about 5 years ago, is we found that there was a gap in the market around well-designed, high-quality products that are durable, but still have everyday purpose. Was that there was, first of all, not really a knowledge of Japanese products, but second of all, there was a gap in terms of premium quality products, but with an everyday purpose. When we started the business, it was because of things we brought from Japan initially as tourists, which people saw and said, oh, I wish we could find these sorts of things in South Africa, useful things with a Japanese aesthetic, but that last. And for us, that was the primary focus. Is we call it a slow, low consumption approach. It's bringing in quality for people that they can offer gifts, and they know it's made in Japan, and that can last long.
日本っぽいギフトというところは、強みというところなんですけども、そこの日本っぽいギフトっていうのは、クルーガーさん的にはどういうものが日本っぽいって思われるんですかね。
I think when we started, if you look at the range of products, we started with like kitchen knives and like garden steel and metalwork, ceramics and paper, for example. So a lot of them were rooted in very long traditions of craftsmanship. Even though many of the modern products have a distinct modern or contemporary design, the techniques and the history behind them have a very long history. So for us, I think that's what makes the Japaneseness. And we find that many of our products the products that do best are the ones with those stories, with those historical links to traditional crafts and to history of craft. And that personal connection that people can then feel that there's still a lot of care being made, being taken in making the product is what people like in searching for a special gift. And the fact that it's not mass produced in many instances.
サイモンさんが思う、日本のプロダクトの魅力を教えてもらってもいいですかね。
From a unified perspective on Japanese design, from a Western or external view, that Japanese design will stand for quality of manufacture, quality of materials, and lifespan. So when we are selecting something from Japan, we have an expectation that it will communicate to our customers these very special aspects of longevity and craftsmanship and quality. And beyond the materiality and the manufacture, there is also a philosophy behind Japanese design that differs from Western design that I think is maybe not tangible or understandable by Western people. It's always there's some mystery or mystique that Japanese design manages to capture, which is its advantage in the international marketplace, that there's a philosophy that brings materials and the shape and the functionality together that differs from European design, for example.
ラモアンさんにもその日本のプロダクトの魅力をお話しいただければと思うんですが。
I don't want to repeat what our friends just explained because I share exactly the same opinion. We started to sell Japanese brands, first of all for distribution, and little by little there were more and more things, products that we wanted to explore. So we started to open our store as some kind of laboratory to check what could be good for Western or non-Japanese customers. So just like my friends, we like the quality, we like the design, we like working with Japanese craftsmen because they are all so nice. So most important is we do it with a lot of passion and a lot of pleasure. And I also would like to add one word about the Takumi project. We feel it was very well organized. The catalog was well made. The selection for brands was also very well made. So we hope that in the future, there will be many more projects just like this one.
今、皆さん共通してお話になっている部分でいうと、哲学であったりとか、ヒストリーであったりとか、ちょっと西洋と違うものっていうところに多分惹かれてると思うんですが、今回商談をしてみて、その辺が、僕はちょっと日本人プレゼンが弱いなと思って。
I don't think necessarily that there is a problem communicating the quality and the heritage of Japanese craftsmanship. But maybe because you're asking me and my colleagues, and we are focused and understanding of this long history, and then it becomes to a degree our job to then communicate those values to our customers, provide very good photographic assets. So to have photography which shows the design being manufactured in the workshop or in the factory is really important to be able to tell the stories around individual products. The quality of photography now, because of the social media and websites, is incredibly important.
I don't think it's enough because in order to give a good storytelling to our customer, we need to talk to our customer, which are also our friends, speaking about the quality, what our other Japanese friend is doing. We need secret stories. We need secret stories about their life, about what they like, where they live, how they live. This is very important when we try to express the passion about a product to our customer in the store. Of course, they can see the design, they can see the material. We can explain more or less why the craftsman is so good. But the more we can explain about secret stories and personal details, the more our customers are going to be really passionate about the craft. We need photos. If possible, we need short movies so we can use on Instagram and social networks. But we need them to trust us and to consider as friends. We need to establish a direct contact. It's very important.
Takumi Next の中で商談で気になったブランドとかを教えていただけますでしょうか。
We are already working with 10, 15 brands from the Takumi catalog. It's going to be boring if I give the name of all of them, but we work with stationery products like Shugai World. We work with Kakenuma Ningyo. We work with Nakajima pencil sharpeners. We work with the Daruma company. We work with Kawai chopsticks. We work with Takazawa candles. Like with trainers, we already knew because we met quite many of those companies already. So we were happy to find them in the catalog, and we were also happy to discover some new craftsmen or new companies.
これまであった中で、高沢キャンドルとかっていう、ものが上がりましたけど、何かご自身の中でのセレクションする上での基準とかってあったりするんですかね？
We are always looking for something special. Like if we decide to work with a craftsman, he must be very unique in some kind. It must be unique for historical reason, like his family is doing it since 3, 4, 5 generations. It must be unique for the design. It must be unique for the way it's made. It must be unique because there is an innovation into the product. We are always looking for a very specific edge.
Thank you very much. クルーガーさんにも同じ質問をしたいんですけど、
I think for us, there were 1 or 2 of the companies in the Takumi Next program where we have visited them, and exchanged contact details, but never really proceeded with trade. Those were Marunao and Suwada, both in Tsubame Sanjo. I think, and just to reiterate an earlier point, and the reason we often visit these factories first is to gain these stories, to understand these stories and see the places where the products are made. And I very strongly second the earlier point by both Simon and Thierry on stories and collateral that show where these things are made. Because once you've visited that Japanese factory or craftsman's workplace, that becomes very easy to then sell that product because you've seen a bit and you've experienced it in person. So in the absence, for example, last year of being able to travel, Takumi Next filled that gap very importantly, because I do find historically that personal contact or some sort of a personal meeting with Japanese companies is essential. You can't just start the relationship via email. And so Takumi Next, by being facilitated, I think gave that authenticity to us as a buyer as well, where we could not maybe visit Japan. But the change maybe in how we selected from the rest of the catalog is in the past, and when we started the business, we probably focused very much on Japanese traditional, but we realized that there is a market awareness of Japanese quality and Japanese design, which is not necessarily, doesn't need to be a traditional product. So for us, what we did with Takumi Next, we probably focused more on new interpretations of products, because I think there's a wider market there. Japanese traditional sometimes have a very niche market, and you need to sell the history and the quality very strongly. But if it's a premium Japanese made product that can be used by anyone, not necessarily even somebody who loves Japan, I think that's what we try to focus on. So the ones we have, there are 2 products that will feature in South African magazines now in March that we are looking at, and that's the Asano Mokusho Hori Hori knife and gardening tool set, as well as the ceramic coffee filter, which we're looking at. And then we had our customers come and vote for samples in the shop. And based on that Saturday where people could come and vote which of these products they want to see, we made a selection. And I find that often they were surprising choices, and maybe not always the ones I would have chosen, but it showed me that there doesn't need to be a the Japan brand is strong enough. It doesn't need to be an authentic.
Thank you.
My apologies.
結構やっぱりそこの燕三条であったりとか、結構やっぱりそこの地域ブランドがしっかりしているところをピックアップされたなっていうふうに思うんですけど、今キーワードとしてデザインっていう言葉をいただいたんですけど、これクルーガーさんにまずお聞きしたいのは、そのデザインっていうところに関して、日本人は結構悩んでる事業者さんが多いなと思うんですね。ザ・和に振るのか、それともコンテンポラリーに振るのかっていうところを結構悩んでる事業者とかがいるんですけど、そこのあたりはバイイングするときにポイントってあったりしますでしょうか？
Me personally, I feel that there's a room for both. I think if the companies have a long history of craftsmanship, has that story of how they have built the business and what their products are, but I would never disconnect it. I think the rootedness in the tradition is important. The design can be innovative or for a modern application, but that link back is for us important in telling the story about who made this.
サイモンさんの方で気になった企業さんを教えてもらえればと思うんですが。
I think our company differs a little bit in the respect that we're not wholly dedicated to Japanese design, and so we are. It's a much smaller part of our offering to customers. We have some long-standing collaborations with Japanese companies which reflect tools and functional items, whether it be for the garden or for the kitchen. But also these designs tend to embrace historical craftsmanship, but we equally work with emerging contemporary companies who may not necessarily fit the bracket of crafts and minge, and it's still about quality of manufacture, but it's also about personality and the Japanese personality in their productions that achieves something different from other design collections that we offer. And as I said earlier, it's sometimes difficult to put your finger on exactly what this is, because, say, Delphonics, the stationery collection that we do, it's very European, but it's Japanese, and it's an incredible fusion of sensibilities that are inherently Japanese, but it works very well for our European customers. I think the export of these sort of brands relies upon, again, storytelling relies upon communication through photography, and then it relies on us, the retailer, to translate those assets into our particular marketplace and what our consumers are expecting. It's a collaboration between countries, and it's a collaboration between vendor and buyer. The Japanese being the vendor, myself being the buyer. So it's important to have these forums, I suppose, to discuss and for us to tell you what's important to us. I think a frustration sometimes for our company is transportation. If we're working with a small maker, trying to arrange for economic packaging and delivery. And that's something I think you can help your community with, to make it possible for their exports to grow, because it becomes a barrier if we're trying to make that arrangement. It's more difficult. particularly for our company, because we're picking small collections from small, disparate, different companies rather than big wholesale packages, which I think maybe Waza and Thierry are dealing with bigger volumes.
I would have one request. Of course, modern classical is a interesting point of view, but what our customers really enjoy with Japanese products is the fact that they can use something beautiful in their daily life. So the fact that the collection itself is easy to use, and especially easy to use for Western people, non-Japanese people, is a very, very important criteria of selections.
Thank you. クルーガーさんはどうですか?
Just make a quick comment, which may be an important message to communicate to the Japanese companies, is in our case in particular, where we're a small company in a small market, and it's a niche market, the contact is very important, but the trade might not start immediately. I need to prioritize of the 22 business meetings I had of Takumi Next, which I can handle when. And all of them, probably 20 out of the 22 I'm interested in, but it doesn't happen immediately. I recently placed the first order from a company I met in 2019 on something else. So it's maintaining contact, but it's meeting these people. But I think they must just, on their side, not be an expectation that things then happen 2-3 months later already. But it's very important for us to make that contact and to then incorporate it into our planning for when are we going to start to bring this product in, etc.